This is a conversation with Moh Flow. He's a singer-songwriter, rapper, entrepreneur, and producer. Apart from being one of the most famous local UAE artists, he's also collaborated with Pusha T for the record Options on Spotify. In this conversation, we discuss the rap and hip hop scene in the Middle East, his process behind creating music, working with Pusha T, growing up in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and Syria. This is no time. If you like what you see, then do hit subscribe on YouTube. I don't know why you haven't done it yet. The people who don't do it are going to get long, angry emails from me. I said what I said. If not on YouTube, then you can also follow this channel on Spotify or rate 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. We are nearly 30 episodes in, and I've been doing all the work, the shooting, the video editing, the sound editing, and the interviews itself, which kind of really explains the average quality. Once a disappointment, always a disappointment. So if you like to see me improve the quality, then do consider making a donation on Patreon. Thank you to the people who continue to do so. And the more donations you can give, I can hopefully get better equipment and also hire minions to do the work for me. That's a good message, I hope. For other forms of love and support, you can follow this channel on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, wherever you like, or follow me personally. And now, this summer, it's no time. Tupac once said, I got love for my brother, but we can't go nowhere unless we share with each other. You got into music because you wanted to impress your elder brother AOI and his friends as well. And then along the way, you discovered that you really like music yourself, and this is something you want to do in your life. How much of your life has actually been influenced by this chance event that you were the younger of two brothers? Do you think you would have been into music, and would you have the same drive, the same fire if you were not the younger brother, maybe if you were the elder brother, if you had no brother at all?
Interesting question. I was thinking about this the other day. I think I might not have been into music, sadly. I might have been into basketball. I might have been a whole different person because it was I don't remember anything before that. I was running with my friends in the street smoking cigarettes. I didn't have no passion, nothing. So yeah, I think no. I wouldn't be in the music. I wouldn't even be. I think my brother's personality, his drive, his just straight up wanting to do things without caring, what other people thought, shaped my entire life in general. Because even in business and in multiple things, I follow his enthusiasm and his intensity. He's a very intense dude. So yeah, I know it's crazy because I feel like he paved the way for me, and even he facilitated the quality that nobody else had at the time. Like when we were where we were doing what we were doing, nobody had the same quality that we could pump out, because simply he didn't accept below that. Like it was all his drive, his research, his sleepless nights just mixing the same song for 20 hours, So yeah, short answer, not at all. I wouldn't be into music. I wouldn't be this motivated.
We don't like short answers on the show, so you can keep them as long as you like. And I find that such a I don't know, powerful idea that so much of your life has been influenced by the fact that you had an elder brother who was into this. And even when I look back, when I had an elder brother, and mostly because of the age difference, he was bigger than me and smarter than me and obviously funnier than me. And because of that, I always wanted to be funnier than him and smarter than him. So I got this drive within me to try and entertain people or just do well at studies itself. Looking back, I mean, the brothers, the role that they play in your life, I feel like it's very underappreciated, because he's the first role model you have, or the first benchmark you set. Because parents, obviously parents, but your brother's like somewhere in your level, someone you can beat, but
it's
also
achievable. Exactly. Yeah. Whatever you see him do is like, oh, that I can do that. I just need a couple. Oh, the difference of years between me and you, I just need that, and then I can do whatever you're doing and maybe do it better. So yeah, of course, it's the first thing you get to look up to. But also there's a level of your older brother always doesn't want you around as a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
it's not cool.
It's just like that. Like I don't want to take. Like my mom was like, take your brother with you, and then brother's like, I don't want to. So you also there's that level of wanting to be accepted. So you probably, with the right motivation and with a positive reinforcement, if your brother's doing something positive like boxing, and you as a younger brother want to impress him, you're gonna box harder than you've ever boxed before. So there's that motivation is, I think, also a crazy motivator. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you guys fight?
Yeah, but it's crazy because when we fought, it was as younger
Younger
kids,
kids,
it
yeah.
was stupid. Like it was just me. I was a very rebellious and didn't want to listen kind of kid. Like I was very set in my ways, extremely stubborn, and if I don't like something, I'm ruining 5 days of my life. And if I'm being
Yeah.
stubborn and sad and don't want to talk to anybody 5 days, I was that kid. So we used to fight about that a lot. But personally, as a man, like as the minute I decided to step up my communication skills with my family, just be like a regular human being, you know, and stop being so stubborn all the time, and try to remove my ego from things. Things started getting better even between me and my brother and stuff like that. So it was mostly me just being a kid when we were fighting, you know.
Wrestling, punching. Yeah.
No,
No.
not at all. Because my father and mom, they're very like emotional, caretaking kind of people. So none of that. No
It was a
violence.
wrestling match with me and my brother. And I read this joke that said that brothers only wrestle each other because they want an excuse to hug each other. And I was like, this guy clearly does not have a brother because
I
that's
can't relate.
yeah, that definitely wasn't the scenario. Okay. So let's talk a bit more about your journey. You were born in Damascus, Syria, and raised in Saudi. What is your current connection with both Syria and Palestine? Because I obviously you were raised in Saudi, you moved when you were quite young, but your parents still might have a very strong cultural connection with them. So how do you view these countries? Do they have are they still have some form of cultural root in your life, or do you have a sense of detachment because you've never stayed there, never really resonated with them?
Um, there's a sense of detachment, obviously, because I just don't live it and don't really know it too much. I've been there a few times to Syria. I've never been to Palestine, and I can't obviously go. But it's a weird like thing, and for a long time we were programmed to believe like not being more westernized is all the positive things, and being more Arab is all the negative things. And it's just it was a mistake on our part, where our parents and our elder generation, especially people who, I mean, most of us were financially struggling, and your parents don't really have time to really instill that too much pride into you. It's a lot of like, let's get out there and make something out of our lives, you know. So we didn't really have that cultural reinforcement, I would call it. So I missed a lot out a lot on that. I did not appreciate my culture a lot growing up, but I feel a huge sense of connection to my culture. And growing up, I started learning so much about our music, our poetry, our art, our heritage, our architecture, our medicine, our books, like all these things that is unbelievable to me, because again, we weren't taught these things in the books. We were taught about Christopher Columbus, but what about, you know, Al Khawarizmi? So it was a sad moment figuring out all these things, learning about whether it's Muslim history or any other religion in our region, you know, whether it's Asia or Middle East. So growing up now, I'm starting to connect a lot more, but it's sad because I just feel like even the culture itself has just been translated into food, you know, and like just very superficial things nowadays. So it's 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 a renaissance of artists that are bringing that back, that's starting to ignite my like interest in it. Before, it was all older generations speaking to us about our culture, and nowadays I just see a lot of people that I can relate to, 28, 30, whatever years old, talking to us in our new younger language about our heritage and culture. So it's getting to a point where I think people of my generation are understanding where they came from, and we're establishing more and more roots. So for me, even I'm starting to include my culture more in my music. So looking into my next piece of music, I'm definitely gonna have Arab samples. They can sue me, they can do whatever they have to do, and we'll talk about it then. But I need to put some of my Arab culture into my music. In terms of Saudi Arabia, Saudi was, I think, more of an influence to me growing up than any other place. It was, I mean, I know Dubai is a melting pot, but Saudi is, I think, more so, even because I don't know. I feel like there's a wider variety of not just cultures but classes that you get to come across. You know, you get to see everything from like from the dirt all the way to, you know, very comfortable or very, you know, legacy driven families. You get to meet everybody. So Saudi put a print on who I am, and I love it, man. I just feel like it gave me the space where it was such a calm place to live in to focus on things that I loved, i.e., basketball or music. So Saudi would be a huge like stepping stone for me coming out of the Middle East, basically.
A lot of interesting things to explore there.
Yeah.
When you were talking about Syria, I just remembered Shivani, who I had on the show. She's from Iraq,
Mm-hmm.
and she had mentioned this very powerful line when she said that Iraq is the home that I miss, but I don't know what I miss. And I could also resonate with her because I've also grown up in the Middle East, but I'm originally from India, but I've never stayed there. And I have this certain disconnect with the culture. Obviously, I have the benefit of being able to go back whenever I can. Both you and Shiva, you don't even have that option. So I can resonate to an extent, but it's a very powerful statement. It's a kind of feeling that's not spoken about much these days, but now with the new generation, they are speaking out about it because we are children of immigrants.
It's a very deep statement. Like even that itself is like you not even being able to know your own culture, where you come from, like having that one tree that you said, like that's where my parents used to rest up after they get, you know what I mean? We don't have that. So yeah, it's a sad and like melancholy statement to make, even, a home you missed that you don't even know. Yeah. Deep.
And you mentioned Saudi. So you've described your childhood in the past as very nomadic. And you've said because you did not have a base in life, you found a base in music. So once again, going back to things that influence you, just like your elder brother, do you think once again getting into music was also influenced by this chance event that your parents moved around a bit? Maybe if you had stayed in an area, had a consistent network, maybe friends, maybe you not have got the opportunity to really discover yourself, what you like and what you enjoy, would it have been a completely different path you would have set out on if you didn't have this nomadic lifestyle?
I feel like the nomadic lifestyle kind of was mostly when we were very young, and it kind of came down to a calm resting like place in Jeddah in Saudi. For me it was between 5th and 12th grade. That's a good 6-7 years. So I think those were the years that shaped my life, and actually me not being in Jeddah the whole time might have taken away from that, because see what happened. 5th grade for me, which means I had 3 more years in Jeddah while Aham was there. So those were the years that Aham formed his first group, Microphone, with the MYK. I love that, still exists. But that's when Aham formed his first network, found his first studio. Like that's where the first network of music-related people came from. When he left, when I was in, I think 8th grade, that's when I started linking up with all of his network and started talking to a person, for example, called Samer Krediye, he owned something called Go Productions, which is a very sizable studio, and a man who makes his bread and butter off of production, events, and recording like esteemed artists, was letting a kid of like what 14-year-old kid to use a studio that's like hundreds of thousands of dirhams studio, and is like believed in us from day one. So no, Jeddah was an extremely important place. If I had moved after 5th grade from there, yeah, I might have not even been able to make music the way I wanted, because Aham wasn't a consistent part of my life. Remember, that was when I was still trying to figure out how to be any kind of artist and send Aham a record for him to say, "Oh shit, I like you," or "You can make music," So that was a very important place to be at that moment.
A lot of cultural influences in your life and in your journey. In the past, you had described Jeddah as a place, back then at least, where there was not much to do. I don't know if you look back on it differently now, but is that a good place for an artist to be, because you won't have that many distractions and you can really discover what you like and your work, and you can explore your art a bit more? Or is a place like Dubai more favorable because even though things just keep happening around here, but you also get exposed to different experiences, people, and create memories, and that can inspire your work? And I say this because in your very recent interview, you had mentioned that the quarantine during the pandemic really showed you that these barriers creative people put on themselves for being able to create their work don't really exist. So in the past, you must have felt that, oh, to be able to create music, I need to be able to go out, maybe to get a good amount of me time or something of that sort. But now you've discovered, even while just being locked up in your room, you can create good music, and there's no such barrier that exists.
Yeah. So I feel like both of them exist, because at the end of the day, if I'm in Saudi, there's a certain kind of community, I think, of creatives for me personally that I would be working with that would help me a lot. It's about environment as well. But also now, maybe after that interview, well, a while after that interview, I have that same network here. So I kind of have built. So for a long time living here between 2010 and let's say 2015, 16, maybe, I didn't feel like Dubai was home for me. And I wasn't sure if I would stay. And I feel like everyone has that little, but for me, I'm so like I was very in tune with that. So even when I had interviews and stuff, you could tell that I felt like Saudi was still home. But I feel like now, I mean, especially now 2 years that I haven't even touched Saudi for COVID purposes, I feel like now I can relate to being like Dubai being home a lot more. So I feel like
Sorry, can you just stop there?
Yeah.
What changed?
what changed?
Yeah, what do you think changed?
I don't know. I just feel like as well. I made a lot of moves in Dubai that showed me that what I was longing for exists. So maybe I felt like Jeddah was home because I was connecting to more people as an artist, for example, in Saudi than I was here. But there was a shift at some point where I started getting the love that I felt like I needed to even feel motivated to do things. That's when the wavy parties popped up. That's when all my launch, like I started investing money in an album launch with confidence. Like I'm gonna sell tickets to get my money back at least, So that changed where I felt like now I have a community here that I can rely on. I feel like I belong. You know what I mean? The artists, the creatives in town recognize, and I feel like every artist wants that, coming up. So yeah, I feel like that kind of changed. But being in Saudi would still be a very cool place for me to make an album. I would love to go and spend maybe a couple weeks in my friend's beach house somewhere and just like and make something happen. But I feel like both vibes could like how's it called, like incubate different kinds of music. Here I would make maybe more energy driven music, but if I'm in Saudi I might make relaxed and R&B vibes. I would feel like it's a slower life. You know what I mean? You're living at a slower pace, so you'll probably translate that into the music.
Do you have a preference? Do you prefer the slow life or the energetic life?
I prefer both. So for me, I like to balance. So I do live a very fast paced life in general. I put too much on my plate to see how much more I can handle. So I crave the relaxed times. I take vacations not to party or to go crazy. I just want to chill. Like I just want to be somewhere with nothing, So I do crave the relaxed times, but I get bored extremely quickly. Like me and Aham will travel to relax, and one time we were in Malaysia in an island with one restaurant. Like you can imagine how chill that's gonna be, right? And we're the only people probably that ever got into this island that had a whole studio together in a whole suitcase. Like we brought a screen and we were blasting music and getting complaints. So we can't not be busy. It's like a balance of us wanting to relax, but then as soon as we relax for a couple hours, we're like, we got to get something going now, especially when me and Aham are together. Yeah.
Interesting. We did touch upon a bit of a comparison between Dubai and Jeddah and Saudi in general. So I'm going to ask you the most controversial question of this interview. Are you ready for it?
Go.
Do you prefer Baik in Saudi or Dubai's KFC?
Come on, man. Baik, hands down.
Oh, not a question about
Not even. You can't even compete with Baik. You can try, but you're gonna fail.
Ouch. Shots are being fired. What is it about Baik that makes it so good? Because I've heard Dubai's KFC is apparently one of the best in the world. Even people who come from the US, friends who come from India as well, they say it doesn't even compare. Like
that's interesting to know. That's crazy. I never heard that. I never personally heard that. Why do you think Baik ingredients plus the team? If you make an order, have you ever been to Baik?
I haven't been to Saudi. Yeah.
If you just watch the team working, because it's an open kitchen style restaurant, they're crazy. The sink, the way they work together. I feel like also when they open from prayer, bro, there are 50 people at the door at any given branch. You can pick a branch blindfolded and say, we're gonna go here after Al-Asr. We go there after Asr prayer. 50 people outside. All be like, and we don't understand queues in Saudi, so we still like just bombard the store. and they handle it, you know. So I feel like team and ingredients for sure. And it's like a family. It's a Palestinian family that owns the business and runs the business. So I feel like these guys put their soul into it, you know.
Baik is the winner according to Moh Flow. So comments need to start pouring in. Let's start the debate.
Don't at me.
Yeah, don't at me. Okay, let's talk a bit about your music. In the past, you mentioned that you're not a huge fan of watching music videos and you prefer your favorite form of consuming music is in your car, bopping to the music.
Yeah.
Do you think that influences the music you create as well? Do you especially create music that might be a good driving experience for someone, but not necessarily something that may be a good watching experience or a dancing experience?
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like I've always made music you can listen to in the car, or you probably should listen to in the car. It does influence how I make my music, and that's why I rarely make extremely up music, is because I'm very inspired by what I listen to. But it's also now, bringing this kind of topic up of what inspires me to make the music. This year, I have started to think about how I can direct my creativity instead of just allowing it to flow. Like, great. I used to always like, it's honestly, it's like having another personality. I'm Mo, I'm Wilhelm, and Mo doesn't speak. He's just, mute right now, and we're gonna play beats. And we play beats, we play different 100 different beats. And when Mo decides that this is the one, he's gonna come up with something. Something's gonna come through. And then I have to just let it flow as peacefully and try to not interrupt it. Right? Because I'm always afraid of blocking it, stopping it. That was how my creative process was always. And I've never explained it this way, but I'm just trying to kind of relate it to you, and it's interesting that I'm saying it this way. And now recently I feel like I want to have a discussion with this other, personality and tell them, listen, we're doing this, and this is the beat, and this is how it's going to sound like, and we have to create it now. And it's not negotiable. You know what I mean? Like, I want to direct my creativity where I need it to be from also a business mindset if needed. But I've been lacking in that because I always wanted it to be such a free-flowing energy kind of thing. So now I'm going through that transition where I don't care what has inspired me too much. I know what my ability is, what I can do, and I probably know what I need to do in this moment in my career, and I need to get it done, And it's a new phase of my creative life where I need to do that, yeah.
I can imagine, because most artists talk about getting into this flow state or getting into this zone where they don't know what's really where it's coming from. Yeah, and a lot of them talk about going to this trance state. And in the past, you had psychedelic rock and psychedelic music where people were not conscious at all, but they were creating such amazing music. Beatles is the biggest example of that.
Yeah.
And they've said that the moment it strikes you, you have to be in the right position to catch it. And you obviously need to have the tools. Doesn't mean that anyone can do it. Yes. Not like I'm just sitting and I can write the same songs that you write. Yes. I need to have the tools to catch it at the right moment and put it down. But they prefer that style rather than just putting 3 hours every day writing music, and then maybe something good comes out of it. Then again writing 3 hours tomorrow. Then again the whole week.
But I feel like learning and speaking to a few very like great songwriters that have unbelievable credits. It's not that is for the artist, that is the writer as well. Now, when you talk to songwriters that are nobodies, they're nobodies, man. They're married with kids. They play ping pong on the weekends. They're not cool. They don't need to be at the yacht party. They don't need the bling. They're unknown people who write hit records. These guys don't at all I don't think that they need to be in a flow. This is their job. They make demos and they say, this is the vibe today. Today we're going for a party vibe, and they can make sure that they channel the right energy through. It has to be productive at the end of the day. Yes, you want to be this artist with a whole thing and like, yeah, yes, great. But at the end of the day, this is a product that you need to produce. You need to make this album. You can't be an artist that, for 2 years, man, it didn't flow through me. Well, really now, you gotta find the battery now. You gotta put the battery in your back. What is it? Is it a month trip? What is it? Is it, figure it out. Is it taking up boxing? So for me, going to the gym now again, for example, or for the first time in my adult life, actually committing to the gym and losing weight and it's changed my energy as a human. So that's going to help me create, hopefully. So you got to actually try to take it into your own hands. You can't just let it flow like that. I think it's too random for you to really be nowadays, especially, you can't be successful when you're just like that. You know, you have to be productive about it. Because I know artists that are crazy talented, but they don't produce enough, and they feel it. They know that they can't just go, you know, too artistic on them. You have to be accessible, and you have to release shit.
So when you talk about speaking with Moh and bringing him under control, is there a risk of, in a way, stopping that creative flow and maybe railroading it a bit too much, or boxing it and really not letting it express itself?
Yeah, basically, it's worrying about. It's just worrying about maybe the people's judgment, or worrying about is this me? Like, is this something that I'm like, at the end of the day, forgetting that I'm writing this song, and it has, maybe it's not my song, maybe it's some other dude, maybe I end up sending it someone. Like, relax, just write the song, write what's right for the song instead of overthinking it. So yeah, the minute you start thinking too much about things, it's like you're being counterproductive. So
Creating what people might like instead of what you want to create.
yeah, 100%. Or trying to, you know, always worrying about what people like. Are people not gonna like sometimes I was just saying this to the boys the other day. I was recording with my friends Beiruz and Travis in my mixed feelings, and I was saying the lamest line most probably becomes the most repeated line. Like, I only do my bed and my mom. Like, that's lame, right? But it's like the funny kind of, like, you know, line that works. So sometimes you just have to have enough confidence in yourself to say whatever you want, you know, and starting to think too hard is not the right move, in my opinion.
This ties in perfectly into the next question, which is, would you rather create the best music or the greatest song in the world and have no one else listen to it, but you would have
No.
the pride? No,
I'll just stop you right there. No,
you don't.
I want my music to be heard by the most amount of people in the world. That's my whole thing. Like, I'm a guy who could have been a refugee. I could have been on the streets. I could have been dead, honestly. Could have been gone, right? So I just want my voice to be heard as far and wide as possible, because where I came from, nobody that came from where I came from is doing what I'm doing. And I was born in a refugee camp in my own country. That's how deep. I am a citizen, yet I was born in a refugee camp. For what reason? I don't even know. Right? So that's how deep it goes. Like, we came out of literally nothing, and then we watched people on TV, and then I made a song with one of those guys. And then I toured in one of those countries where they didn't want to give me a visa at one point. So for me, it's like the further I can reach from the point of origin, that is the goal. So I would rather not have anything be restricted to only me. I want my art to be heard everywhere as possible.
This is a story that deserves to be heard across the world. One more thing I want to touch upon. In the past, you mentioned, I'm not sure what the latest numbers are, but in the past, most of your listens used to come from cities like Los Angeles or Montreal, and a lower percentage used to come from within this region itself.
Nuts that you say this, because subhanAllah, I don't even know what happened. But literally the last 2 months, my top cities are, I'm looking right now, for example, on a Spotify. 5K from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
There we go.
4.9 Riyadh, and then Buffalo, Chicago, and Dallas coming in 3, 4, and 5.
The perfect mix of cities.
So recently, Saudi, I don't know what's been happening, but Saudi's coming up on the list for the past maybe 2 months.
They're discovering Moh Flow. That's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, when on SoundCloud days, I used to have most of my plays come from Saudi and Bahrain and Qatar and stuff. But yeah, it shifted. But I feel like, again, see, there's a resurgence of people starting to care about our voice and who's this guy. Oh, even if he's not Saudi, he grew up here. So now we, like, rappers that respect me from Saudi, for the simple fact that I grew up on the same streets that they grew up, you know, and it's like a sense of pride that we take now.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Back in that phase when you were getting more views outside of this region, you had mentioned maybe because a lot of people had reached out to you and said that, why didn't you sing in Arabic?
Sure.
And you had said that you would love to if you were a lot more comfortable in singing in Arabic. Do you think maybe at that phase, maybe not now, did you ever feel like an outsider within this region? Because it felt like being an Arab artist but not singing in Arabic means that that niche is not yet created, that market segment is not there at that point.
Yeah, I mean, To be honest with you, there was it's a weird thing that happened. So we were looked down upon just for the fact of hip hop, actually. Forgetting whether it's English or Arabic, Arab, hip hop, yo, wannabe, whatever, all these, preconceived notions that are very ignorant. And then it became, okay, there was a certain level of respect. And now I feel like more than ever, it's like, yo, man, you're Arab, you gotta sing in your language. And you see now people who speak, just a couple Arab words, boom, it goes wild. So it is more of the time now to go back into your culture, But I feel like for me, I didn't see anyone doing it in Arabic that made me want to do it like that. Because as well, having a role model is important. Like I had, for example, I looked up to Umar Afendim, for example. But honestly, I love you, Umar, man. I hope if you're watching this.
He is.
He dropped an album, Syria and Americana. And I was waiting for the continuation of his journey in terms of being an artist. And I was so tuned in, but I just feel like he didn't release more records that I was hungry to hear. Like I was hungry to understand how he would, like, because that's the way I think. I always listen to artists and I'm like, I wonder how is he gonna sound in 2-3 years. Like I found Kendrick, Overly Dedicated was the album that was out. I found, Joey Badass, I found Vic Mensa, like all these artists, I found out about them a minute before. Like J. Cole, Anas Arabi sent me the warm-up way before anything. 2009, he sent me the warm-up. 2010, he sent me the warm-up. So, and I'm always thinking, how are they gonna sound like? So it's for someone who's Syrian, like that's my guy. Like I was waiting. How are you gonna age in hip-hop? How are you gonna rap a certain way? And I felt like, honestly, thinking about those what if conversations, if Omar had released multiple albums after that, I might have been influenced differently by music. But then again, I was so influenced by American music. I was so impressed with that and the sound and the beats and the music and that identity. So I would never like regret not making music in English, because I feel like that gave me the quality that I needed, or that gave me the motivation to have the quality that I needed. But now I'm more than ever open to involving Arabic into my music. But again, for me, and I would hope that when you would listen to my catalog, you would feel that I would not ever want to release any record that I wouldn't be proud of in 20 years. I don't want to release any song that I wouldn't want my daughter to hear or my son to hear or my grandfather to hear. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of music that's the kind of commitment that I have to my legacy, is that I never want to be the artist that looks 10 years like,
Can they put pressure on yourself?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, you have to take like, if Van Gogh can do it, and if Picasso can do it, if whoever can do it, I can do it, and I can curate art that I am very proud of. And I still have songs that I feel like I'm not too proud of, and that's just, I feel like it's also preference. But I always want to never make music just for this moment, because this moment, this is gonna pop, let's do this house, whatever. No, I never want to do that. That goes against why I make music. I want something that's timeless. And if I want to touch on a vibe, I want to make sure that I touch it the right way and in an authentic way. If I'm touching Afro beats, I want to bring someone that does that. And I want to ask them how should we do it better. So it's authenticity and timelessness in music is more important than the moment, being big in the moment, So if I'm going to write Arabic music, I'm going to bring an Arabic writer to help me, right? And to tell me how it needs to be done. So corniness cannot be a possibility in the records that we put out.
Can't just randomly throw Arabic words in there.
Ya Habibi, like,
can't just do all that.
I mean, Ram Riddles, man. I don't know if you're watching this, because I don't know if you work with the region like that, but
He might be. Wait, are you going to start a beef? Then
no.
Then he's probably not watching.
The record was not great. The homies were posting it, but it wasn't great. Like, it was just for the moment, and he knows that. Like, he's a good enough artist to know.
Okay,
he's
I
not
don't
a
want
bad
any hate
artist.
mail. Yeah.
No, man.
No emails.
He's more gonna make fun of us and then succeed. If he makes fun of us, he's funny as hell. People are gonna laugh at us, believe me. But what I'm saying is the record was not it, but it was for the moment.
You may say this, but there's a diss track coming out.
I'll take it. I'm ready.
You mentioned quite a few interesting points that I want to touch upon when you were talking about you want to track the growth of an artist over 2 or 3 years. And this is your quote, and I'm going to quote you word for word. You said, when business intertwines with music, you kind of lose that fire. And you were talking in reference to J. Cole and Logic and about how people talk about them being better when they won the mixtapes. And then when they became big, then suddenly it feels like the music's not the same or it just doesn't connect the same way. Do you think the idea of success and the idea of power, money, and you can speak to this because you've also now gotten quite famous over time, you've seen the growth throughout the years. Do you think that idea itself inevitably makes you lose some perspective, gets you detached from the reason you were creating music?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If you start creating the art with the dollars sign in mind, it does ruin your creative process. And also, the artists like that made a huge mixtape. They got that deal, and that's why we see. And actually, some people it's their sophomore album, and some people it's their freshman album. It's their first release. It's their debut, right? Yeah. Like for me, Drake never had that because he had a team of producers with him. He had his team was there, so they never lost sight of who this guy is. But for example, J. Cole had to suffer through the Sideline Story, which is, in my opinion, his worst project, is because he had just gotten the deal and he did a record called Mr. Nice Watch. That's not J. Cole. That's not what he does, right? So it just having people in your ear and like, yo, we got to make these dollars back, or yo, we got to tour and whatever, so we got to make the record for Nigeria, or we got to make the, like you start thinking that way, and it's a possibility you're going to ruin the art behind it, That's why for me, I mean, I think I've lost money on all my albums, but Moh Flow, the person, has made it back in terms of who I became during the process of making those albums. My music was my lost leader. I lost all my money on my music and the actual song and the video and whatever, but I made it back somehow, right? And that's the thing, like, if I started thinking like, I'm going to make the hit, bro, I can make a song tomorrow in less than 24 hours, beat, mix it, master it, write it, hit song, million views in 2 hours. I could do it. It's not hard. It's all about me going out and doing everything that I know will pop. Doing like that guy who did the record, what's his name? The guy, whatever, the Saudi guy, Barry or whatever, I think his name. Bro, it's a meme song.
I know Despacito, which I thought
Despacito is hard to make. There's art in that, right? Don't ever talk about Justin Bieber to me like he doesn't deserve everything he has. Like, people do that, and that's not right. But I mean, like that guy, for example, also no disrespect, my man, the record is a meme song. I can make that in 2 hours. It's easy. But is that what, is that why I make music? Is that what I want to be famous for? No. I don't ever want anyone to walk up at the mall at me and talk to me about some meme. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be respected as an artist 10, 20 years from now. So the business and the music sometimes could be very, very toxic. I feel like make the music, make the whole art with only purity and your own, love for the art in mind. And after that, figure out how you can monetize that art. It might not be, like Frank Ocean might have lost money on Nostalgia Ultra because he didn't own a lot of those music pieces. But that is why he became who he was. That's how he secured the next $10 million deal. So lose sometimes on the art, but you will win somewhere else, like because of that art, it's a crazy concept, right? Because you're never telling someone, build the business, spend $1 million on the business, lose that money on the business, you're going to make it elsewhere. He's like, what? Why did I make the business? But, the music is the essence of the artist, and then the money will come. There's a lot of ways to make the money.
If you had to reinvent yourself today, do you think you would be in the same genre? And I hate to say genre because I feel like you've transitioned as well. You started in rap, and then you now moved into more of an R&B. And now I feel like you don't even define yourself within a genre. It's just singer-songwriter, right?
Yeah.
So do you think if you just completely delete all existence that you have from the past, even though you said you're quite proud of that growth that you've seen from your first track to now, if you remove that all and you start today, do you think you would be an R&B singer? You'd be in rap again? Where would you be?
No, I would always want to be like I would always want to be in that lucid state between singing and rapping. Like I would definitely be there because that's what gives me goosebumps. Like No jazz, no blue, no techno, none of that. No EDM. Like it's hip hop and R&B music is what I would gravitate towards. I might not rap if I didn't have that experience with Run Junction and Arabi, Tim Granite, Vision, Magic. If I didn't have that, growing up, then I might only be singing, but I would always gravitate towards like throwing bars and trying to rap or trying to do Tory Lane stuff, singy, rappy stuff. But yeah, I definitely feel like I would always fall back into that. Yeah.
You mentioned it gives you goosebumps. So let's say it's 3 a.m. in the night. You're in the car, empty roads. Maybe it's got a nice little Dubai fog. Let's say it's a winter night in Dubai and it's just you and your friends in the car. What's one song that will always give you goosebumps? Or maybe three. Up to you.
There's a song called Tell Me by They featuring Vic Mensa. That's a guaranteed record. Yeah, Amro would know that. No, let me dig into, because look, where's my phone? Yeah. My playlists, man, they go hard. People sleep on my playlist. I make playlists on Spotify under Harmony.
Public announcement, guys. Please don't sleep on Moh Flow's playlists.
Oof. Wow. Gives you goosebumps is a strong one, though,
Yeah. Maybe because I know you grew up on 90s R&B, so is there one 90s track?
90s R&B is like, I feel like I love 90s R&B as a feeling and as like a warmth and like
as a vibe,
as like a music profile than I do as the records. Like I love the records, but for me, I love brightly mixed stuff. So like everything in the old days was damp, like the way it was mixed. So like I love Aaliyah, but I love now when SZA does the Aaliyah vibe, and SZA's our new Aaliyah, like in my opinion. So I feel like I like the feel of it, and I like when people bring it back actually more than I like the actual 90s records. Like I love when Tory took some of that and brought it back and made it a whole different vibe, I'm gonna get back to you on the records, man. I have some, but Tank has a record called For Mine. One of the craziest records. Like there's no drums on that song. It's piano and his beautiful, amazing vocals, and he kills that. And then there's a song, the Beach. I think The Beach by Giveon.
This is all. It's a public playlist on Spotify.
Yeah. So Harmony is the profile that I make my playlist under. Future Sounds, Relax, and Dirty Soul. 3 of those.
You have one new follower minimum. That's me itself.
Let's do it.
Okay. So one day you got a random email with no signature. And the guy was like, do you want to collaborate? Found out it's a project for Spotify. One day before you were about to record, you found that the artist you're recording, collaborating with is Pusha T. No one else. And you started working on this record for 2-3 days. I think it was called Kelani. And Pusha T walks in, says, I want to work on the record, options. Right?
Yeah. And it was called Drunk Driving at the time. But
Drunk Driving.
That was the one.
So you're going through this whirlwind of a week and you didn't get time to process it. In many interviews later, you said that at that moment, everything was just happening and you're just going with the flow. Mo is going with the flow. Now looking back, what was that experience like? What were you going through at that point? What is it working like with Pusha T?
It was a humbling experience, man. That's pretty much it. Like just being, because again, like we lack the respect for artists out here. So like being respected whatever 1,000 miles away from home was wild to me. Having on my own runner, just to having my name on the stew, like this is Moh Flow's room, and just the amount of love that people had for artists and creatives out there was the wildest part of my experience. Understanding how amazing it is being in a room full of writers and producers and just sharing ideas, man. It was an eye-opening experience, and it was like one of like the biggest motivators for me. It made me love, things, and made me learn things like, okay, this is how. So this when I came back from that Spotify situation, that's why I learned, okay, if I want to write a hit record, or even I'll speak about that later, but you put a room together, you have to put people together, and you can't make the song by yourself. Like no big song is made by yourself. So it was just a thing that was like, okay, now you have to step up to the plate with your artistry. It's like, felt like I was chosen kind of thing, right? So that experience made me feel like we're like proud of who we are. Like again, people coming from where we came from. Me and Aham made the whole record. Anyways, you know, we brought the song with 2 verses. Pusha T picked it. Writers in the room who had written for Bruno Mars, etc. Huge people, producers who worked with A-listers. You know, we're saying, so what we got to do is add a tiny bit of guitar here. Yeah. That the thought of that is wild to me. That they didn't go, okay, let's change the whole whatever. No. What Aham did, the Syrian guy who came, who has nothing to do with this culture, came through. Yeah. This is okay for everybody. We're gonna add on it, you know. So it was a very beautiful experience for us, and it gave us like pride in who we are. And I feel like it was a huge push for Aham also, where he felt like, damn, like we have something here. So we set a whole new standard to ourselves after that experience. So
did you have this moment where you just felt like, how did I get here? I'm Moh, and look at this, is Pusha T right there.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I didn't get the minute to do that. Like, I think in the hotel, like I was on the phone with Majid, and we were picking what to do and what records to send when we found out. And yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like you don't really have the time to think about how did that happen. You're just like, damn, am I about to embarrass myself? You know, is he about to clean me up on the song, or am I about to stand a chance here, you know? So, and then you think that way, and then you're in the room and a legend is telling you, listen, look, I wrote these bars, and what about you sing over here? That itself, that exchange itself is like, it makes you feel like, okay, everything that I want is kind of possible at this moment. So yeah, it was the moment where I decided that I owe it to myself and to where I come from to push it and to try to do better.
Interesting. You mentioned not getting much respect here. There's a popular saying in the rap game, put some respect on my name. I'm going to say no
all
more.
3 of y'all.
Yeah.
All 3.
So one final big question on that is, I think it was you who mentioned in an interview once that people often talk about support artists in this region, but it felt like for the longest time, artists didn't sit back and think whether the art was worth supporting or whether it was good enough. So now, 2021, if I ask you to let's put you in the shoes of a bystander, put you in my shoes. What do you think? Where's the art reach now? Is it worth supporting? Is it worth the respect?
I love this question. Yes. Okay, so I listened to another podcast called the Flamingos Podcast. I don't want to plug another podcast on your podcast.
Well,
I don't
please
know if
do
this
it.
Podcast wars.
Oh no, please do it.
But
we all know who's better.
These guys talk about local releases or regional releases every week. And that was just an eye-opener to me. Like every week they have something to talk about, man. That means that we have enough stuff coming out. Egypt, Morocco, Tunis, you know, Bahrain, Saudi, UAE. There's so much going on. So, man, I feel like we're finally at a place where there's all the vibes you want. You want the crazy vibes, you go to Seki Supervillain, you go to Gabi. You want the, you know, chill vibes, you might come to me. You want the crazy vibes, you go to Omar Basad. You know, like you just have so many artists to check on every week. So we're getting to a place where you can consume Arab-made music. At least, you know, 30-40% of your playlist can be populated by good music out of here. So yes, people like Freak, people like you know, Bonnie, like a lot of these artists that at one point I feel like didn't believe enough in their craft to put the work into it are finally like, no, this is gonna happen. And the way they're moving is inspiring younger artists. So this is the cycle we want, and I feel like we're at a much healthier place. And I just want more facilities, more shows, I want more money being offered to these guys. I want more people trying to come in and invest in the art, you know, and try to make one of these artists the next blowout act, you know.
This is a place to do it because people with money watch the show. I don't want to brag about my audience, but it's only people who are loaded. I don't want any of that.
Yo, you guys, I need investment for my next album. Peace.
Before I move on to the final questions, I would love for you to interpret what you've built with the Lego here. What do you think that looks like?
This like the ladder, you're trying to step up, you know what I mean? Level up, level up, level up.
Symbolic of your rise in UAE. So that means I can throw this shit because you clearly have something much better right there. All right. So final questions, Mr. Moh Flow. What are some books, movies, people that are very strongly influenced in your life?
The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell is a crazy book. I don't know if you've ever read that book. It's a crazy one. eye opener. Movies, Quentin Tarantino, like a lot of things that Tarantino makes. You know, movies like, you know, Inception, corny, but but it's like a lot of these, things that mess up your mind. Like when you're done, you're like, huh? Seven and all those crazy movies. That's the kind of stuff that inspires me. What else, man? I feel like I stopped being inspired by things. I'm more inspired by the things that I live and the people around me, and feel like I'm starting to get inspired by personal stories and things that I can touch and feel and speak to someone about. But yeah, art wise,
Role models,
that's it. Role models.
rappers,
Mm.
singers.
I don't know, man. Who would be my role model? Who would be someone we're trying to get it like? 'Cause I can't think of anyone. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I don't know enough. But my role model would just be somebody who's doing multiple things at once. Like I know, again, don't cliche to say Jay-Z, but it's like somebody who can excel at multiple things at once. I obviously want to continue making music and excel through that, but I also want to be an entrepreneur and create businesses, concepts, and different things that can last. And I want to end up having my hand in like 10 different things by the time I'm 40, you know? So that's the kind of thing that I'm aiming at.
Floyd Mayweather.
Maybe with a better vocabulary, ability.
Why? You don't like money? I'm made of money, man. I'm made of money.
Money isn't everything, man. Money is a lot, but you need to know how to speak.
Floyd Money Mayweather. Interesting. You mentioned Seven as one of your favorite movies. Anytime someone mentions Seven, I just remember what's in the box.
What's in the box?
What's in the box? The biggest question. Yeah. Do they talk about Seven on the Flamingos podcast? I guess not. Yeah.
Step y'all game up.
Okay.
You heard the man.
What would you like your legacy to be like?
I don't know. I definitely want to be a person who helped build things and help put things together and at least facilitated some growth for other human beings who I felt like I wanted to kind of take the role that I felt was missing for me growing up. Like I would like to be that person who mentors some people, helps people to get it out like of nowhere, of nothing. So I would like to be a facilitator, and I'd also like to make good for myself. Like a couple of zeros in the bank, not a couple, 7, and
limousine.
No, I don't want to live like Flash like that. I'm always gonna drive myself. I love driving. If Aham gets rich, he will not be driving, guaranteed. If I get big, I'm driving the Rolls Royce.
Which
myself.
car though?
Probably the Rolls or the Bentley, man. Continental GT vibes.
Yeah, like Floyd Mayweather.
Any car you choose is like Floyd Mayweather.
He has all of them. What do I do? Except I think Nissan Tida or something. Honda Civic. I don't think he deals in that stuff.
But yeah, facilitator, but also I want to do some things for myself and my family. But I just love doing things like for people who I feel like I can relate to. So creating concepts that last for artists is something that I'll always have a passion for, man.
Yeah, you guys are definitely doing that. You, Shibani, Freak,
trying,
Big Hass, the Godfather,
the
music in the region.
Sure.
All of you are just creating this environment for future artists within this region. I think it's become a lot easier than it was. I think you guys have seen the tougher part of it.
Yeah.
And you guys are so inclusive of it that I think it's really now it's become a scene that everyone wants to look forward to and anyone can feel welcome in. So hats off to you guys. Final question for you.
Go for
Moh
it.
Flow. What do you think is the meaning of life?
Wow. What is the meaning of life?
Yeah, they don't ask these questions in the Flamingo podcast.
They do not, man.
Yeah.
These guys are funny guys.
Hey, no hate, guys. I don't even know.
What is the meaning? I don't know what the meaning of life is, man. What I know is for me, it's been chasing what I know is right versus my desires. This is what my life is. This is what life has been for me. The meaning of it is trying to, I feel like the meaning of life is trying to balance between what's right and what's yours, like, or what you want kind of thing. But at this point, I still don't know. I'm still in the place where I'm trying to discover what's gonna win,
Do you feel like your desires right now are not the right ones that you should have in life?
maybe it's because of my religious upbringing, or not religious, but like my religion, or the basis of that is like some things about, you know, just being too sucked into life itself and wanting accolades or what, you know, these things are not like encouraged, from like being not materialistic, not caring about these things, and at the same time wanting to be, you know, comfortable. So there's like but like life, not the meaning of life, but the journey of life has been about the struggle between, you know, that, you know, desires and what's right versus, you know, wanting abundance and at the same time wanting simplicity. And it's just like having to balance between those. And the meaning of it is unidentifiable for me at this moment. You know,
Yeah,
I'm still trying to figure it out.
it's a tough question, and I'm sure a lot of people go through the same. So they might find comfort in the fact that when you are going through, you can all.
What would be your answer to that? I know maybe nobody has flipped it on you.
And nobody asking me
what
yet,
is
and
the
I ain't
meaning of
answering
life?
till episode 100.
100 is when you're gonna tell us your meaning of
100
life.
is it? Stay tuned, man. This is gonna be.
I'm tuned. I mean,
This is.
but 100, make it 50.
Hey, you're number 25.
Listen. Okay, but listen. Let's do this. If and I don't know, make it like, let's make it like a little challenge. You know, if enough people like share this episode, we'll cut that down by 10 episodes. We'll make it at episode 90.
Okay,
we'll give them those chances. If we get 100 story reshares, we might have you give us the meaning of life.
episode 99.
Episode 90.
90?
10, I said. What one? We're gonna
One
do
share
all
is
this.
one.
We're gonna do all that.
Even
For one episode? No. 10.
Okay, let's do episode 90. My aim is that, so I get such wonderful guests like you from different fields of work, and I ask them the same question again and again. What is the meaning of life? At the end, by episode 100, we're going to have what is the meaning of life? And then we know it.
I like it.
And Flamingo Podcast will just be watching. Just be watching the dust I picked up. I took it personally, man.
You're telling me I don't want to start beef. You're starting beef, man.
Send me a diss track. Flamingo Podcast.
A discast.
Yeah, a discast. Yeah. I want to see it happen. Amazing move. And I must say, back to your meaning, it's a very powerful question. And I know a lot of people are asking the same question themselves. So the fact that you're doing it as well, they have support, and maybe you guys can do a meetup group
100%.
and then find it together.
Support group.
Yeah.
I got you.
Moh, thank you so much. If people want to connect with you online, in person, listen to your music, maybe accompany you on drive-bys or something, where can they do so? Because you know how it goes down, right?
DM me on Instagram,
Down in
man.
Palm Jumeirah.
Antar Cafe, baby. As like Instagram, Moh Flow Music, MOHFLOW Music. Spotify, everything else is MOH space FLOW. Listen to my music, man. I'm a Syrian kid, you know, raised out here in the GCC. And yeah, show some love, you know? That's all we need.
Moh Flow Music is the place to find it. Moh, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
My guy. Thank you for having me.